Throughout history, armies have risen and fallen, empires have flourished and crumbled. But at the heart of every battlefield stood the warrior, men and women forged in fire, discipline, and blood. Their names echo through time, their reputations striking fear into enemies long after their deaths. These were not ordinary fighters. They were the living weapons of their civilizations, men whose courage and brutality shaped empires and terrified entire nations. Today, we count down the 10 most feared warrior classes of the ancient world. Centuries before Japan was unified under the shogunate, the samurai emerged as a warrior class that would dominate the islands for nearly 1,000 years. What made the samurai so terrifying was not just their skill with the katana, but their complete devotion to a code of honor, Bushido, the way of the warrior. To a samurai, life and death were secondary to loyalty, courage, and duty. If dishonored, many chose ritual suicide, seppuku, rather than live in shame. This fearless devotion to honor made them almost impossible to intimidate. Armed with bows, spears, and their iconic curved swords, samurai trained relentlessly in martial arts and military strategy. Their armor, built from lacquered plates and silk cords, was lightweight and flexible, allowing them to move with deadly precision. Whether serving powerful lords or warring clans, samurai were not only masters of combat, but also scholars, poets, and philosophers. To face a samurai was to confront not just a warrior, but a man who believed his death could be a work of art. In the 13th century, a force emerged from the endless steppes of Central Asia that would terrify Europe, the Middle East, and Asia alike. The Mongols, under the leadership of Genghis Khan, carved out the largest contiguous empire in history. The Mongol warrior was feared above all for his mastery of mounted archery. From horseback, they could fire arrows at full gallop with terrifying accuracy. Trained from childhood, they could ride for days without rest, even sleeping in the saddle and drinking their horse's blood in emergencies to survive. Their tactics were revolutionary: feigned retreats, encirclements, and lightning raids. Entire cities surrendered at the mere rumor of a Mongol horde approaching, knowing resistance meant annihilation. For their enemies, it was not just the speed and skill of the Mongols that inspired fear, but the psychological warfare they wielded. Tales of their cruelty spread like wildfire. Massacres, pyramids of skulls, entire civilizations wiped off the map. To the medieval world, the Mongols were not an army. They were a storm of destruction. From the 8th to the 11th centuries, Norse warriors known as Vikings carved their names into history with axe, sword, and shield. Their raids struck terror across Europe. From the coasts of Britain to the rivers of Russia, Viking longships appeared suddenly from the morning mist. They would raid a village, burn its halls, and vanish before reinforcements arrived. No place near the sea was safe, but Vikings were more than savage raiders. They were skilled seafarers who braved the Atlantic, reaching as far as Iceland, Greenland, and even North America centuries before Columbus. On the battlefield, their ferocity was unmatched. A Viking warrior's ultimate goal was to die bravely in battle so that he might feast in Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain. To fight someone who welcomed death was to face a nightmare. Whether in shield wall or berserker rage, the Vikings embodied raw, terrifying power. At the height of the Persian Empire, its most elite fighting force was known as the Immortals. 10,000 strong, this royal guard was handpicked for loyalty and skill. What made them truly feared was the illusion that their numbers never diminished. Whenever one warrior fell, another immediately took his place. To outsiders, it seemed as though their ranks were eternal, hence the name Immortals. Clad in ornate armor, Armed with spears, short swords, and powerful bows, the immortals were more than soldiers. They were symbols of Persian power. They fought at Thermopylae against the Spartans, forming the backbone of Persia's war machine. To face them was to face a wall of discipline, drilled and unyielding, the very embodiment of imperial might. No list of feared warriors would be complete without Rome's legendary soldiers. The Roman legionary was not just a fighter, he was part of a machine. Every legionary trained for years, drilling until every movement was second nature. They fought in precise formations, wielding the gladius and scutum with deadly efficiency. Protected by chainmail or segmented armor, they were disciplined, organized, and relentless. Legionaries could march 20 miles a day, build a fortified camp overnight, and then crush enemies in battle the next morning. Their tactics, the testudo, the wedge, the disciplined line, overwhelmed less organized foes. To the Gauls, the Carthaginians, and countless tribes, the sight of a Roman legion's red banners was enough to shake morale before the first blow was struck. Rome's soldiers didn't just fight wars, they built an empire. By the Middle Ages, knights had become the dominant warriors of Europe. Born into a world of castles, feudal lords, and constant warfare, they served their masters with loyalty and courage. Knights were trained from a young age, learning horseback riding, swordsmanship, and battlefield tactics, preparing to become the ultimate instruments of war. Encased in chainmail and later heavy plate armor, mounted knights were nearly unstoppable. Lances could shatter infantry lines, while swords, maces, and shields made them deadly in close combat. On the battlefield, a single charge could break formations, turning the tide of war in an instant. Knights were more than fighters. They embodied chivalry, honor, and faith. Their code demanded protection of the weak, loyalty to their lord, and courage in the face of death, blending martial skill with moral ideals. During the Crusades, knights rode into the Holy Land with religious zeal, believing their cause was divinely ordained. To their enemies, they were ironclad demons, a terrifying blend of skill, discipline, and legend. Not all feared warriors fought in armies. Gladiators battled for survival, fame, and occasionally freedom. Often slaves, criminals, or captives forced into the arena. Their lives were a mix of danger and spectacle, where skill and courage were the only tools that could save them. Some gladiators became legends. Spartacus, for example, led a massive slave revolt, proving that these fighters could challenge entire armies, not just entertain crowds. Their fame grew not just from victories, but from the sheer audacity to defy fate itself. Trained in specialized schools, gladiators mastered swords, tridents, nets, and shields. Every fight was a lesson in survival, forcing them to adapt quickly and exploit every weakness of their opponent. The Colosseum was their battlefield, the crowd their witness. Survival was the only law, and each victory transformed a condemned fighter into a hero, leaving a lasting mark on Roman history. Now, the berserkers, Viking warriors who fought in trance-like fury. Shedding armor and fear, they became living storms, charging into battle with ferocity unmatched in history. Legends say they were consumed by rage, unstoppable and relentless, howling like wolves and foaming at the mouth. Berserkers struck terror into enemies. Their unpredictable assaults shattered formations, leaving chaos and panic in their wake. Armies often fled before a berserker even reached them, believed to channel the spirits of bears, wolves, or boars. They ignored pain, exhaustion, and death. Every swing of their axe or sword carried the force of a raging storm, making them nearly impossible to defeat. Whether myth or reality, berserkers embodied pure chaos on the battlefield. Even among Vikings, they inspired awe, fear, and a lasting legacy as the ultimate warriors, remembered as forces of nature incarnate. Few warriors are as legendary as the Spartans. From childhood, boys endured the brutal agage, learning to endure hunger, pain, and fear. Their training forged disciplined, unyielding soldiers, prepared to sacrifice everything for the city-state. Spartan society revolved entirely around war. Every male was a soldier first. Retreat or surrender was shameful, and death in battle was the highest honor. Their discipline and resilience created the finest infantry of their time. In battle, Spartans excelled through coordination and strategy. The phalanx, a wall of overlapping shields and spears, was nearly unbreakable. Each soldier trusted his comrades completely, turning individual strength into unstoppable unity. At Thermopylae, 300 Spartans held back a massive Persian army, demonstrating courage and skill beyond measure. Facing a Spartan meant facing a warrior who had already embraced death, making them virtually unstoppable on the battlefield and immortal in legend. At the top of our list are the Zulu warriors, the fearsome soldiers of Shaka Zulu, who reshaped southern African warfare. Trained from youth in endurance, agility, and combat, they became disciplined, lethal, and highly coordinated fighters. Using the short-stabbing spear, or ikalwa, and large cowhide shields, Zulu warriors excelled in close combat. They combined speed, strength, and precision in the deadly buffalo horn formation, encircling enemies and crushing them from all sides. Shaka's warriors were not just fighters. They were masters of strategy. Forced marches, surprise attacks, and strict battlefield discipline made them terrifying opponents who could overwhelm larger forces with smaller coordinated units. Facing the Zulu army meant confronting a perfectly honed fighting machine. Their discipline, courage, and innovation struck fear into foes and left a lasting legacy as one of history's most feared warrior societies.